with all due respect, I truly believe that it comes totally out of context. Please.
CBN. Julie, CBN.
Julie Stahl from CBN News. So I know people have asked you, but how do you think that this is going to, how are you going to be able to mitigate this? Like suddenly everybody's switching back to Israel, the powerful one who is.
But that's always the tragedy of short memories.
I get it.
We kept on saying time and again, for the last few months, every day there was a terror attack here. Every day. Okay, and nobody understood our situation. There is a lot of anger in this country because people did not understand what we are talking about. There is no excuse to murdering innocent civilians in any way, in any context. And believe me, Israel will operate and always operates according to the international rules, and will do the same in this battle too.
So I was around when Israel was inside Gaza, and it was a whole lot better for the Gazans when Israel was there. Do you foresee any scenario where Israel will go back into Gaza?
I'm not dealing with it right now. We are in battle. I'm not dealing with the final outcome of this tragedy.
It would be good for the people
right
there.
Now we are defending our citizens. I was yesterday in Sderot. In their houses, there were terrorists swarming around. In their houses. Still swarming around. In their houses. Please.
Matt Fry, Channel 4.
President Herzog, Matt Fry, Channel 4 News in the UK. Thank you very much. Let me first of all say that there's an enormous sympathy for Israel and for what your country is going through right now. But listening to your answers in the last few minutes, I'm a little confused. Because on one hand, you say that Israel abides by the rules of war and is very careful to avoid the loss of civilian life in the Gaza Strip. But at the same time, you seem to hold the people of Gaza responsible for not trying to remove
No, well, I'll
Hamas.
tell you.
Now, let me finish.
Do you hold a missile in your kitchen, in your living room?
Can I ask my question?
A missile that is sent on our head here, and if there will be a siren, it's a missile from that kitchen.
My question is this, if I may. You seem to hold the people of Gaza, the civilians of Gaza, responsible for not removing Hamas, and therefore, by implication, that makes them legitimate targets.
No, I didn't say that.
But
I did not say that. I want to make it clear. I was asked something about separating civilians from Hamas. But with all due respect, if you have a missile in your goddamn kitchen and you want to shoot it at me, am I allowed to defend myself? Yes. That's the situation.
No one is denying the
These
right of you to
missiles
defend
are there.
yourself.
These missiles are launched. The button is pressed. Okay. The missile comes out from the kitchen onto my children.
But the question is this. Ultimately, you can't remove the people of Gaza. They're going to be stuck in this neighborhood.
So we have to fight. What do you want us to do?
Well,
so we tell them get out, and we fight against the launchers.
Eventually, what happens eventually? Right? Once this war is over now, you're going to have to live with them side by side.
Absolutely.
What's the plan?
Well, the plan is we have to make sure the Hamas will not be able to repeat this again. That is the plan. That's what we are trying to do.
And if you,
with all due respect, I see nations fighting terror. Okay, many decent nations, when they fight terror, they fight terror. We are fighting terror. Humanity has to decide. Are we accommodating terror or are we fighting terror? We are fighting terror. And we saw the worst atrocity possible. We see the worst atrocity possible by a whole campaign of a movement which has major support with our neighbors. Major. They believe, many people believe in it. I agree. There are many, many innocent Palestinians who don't agree to this. But unfortunately, in their homes, there are missiles shooting at us, at my children, at the entire nation of Israel. We have to defend ourselves. We have the full right to do so. And it's about time that the world understands it. This is the tragedy of using terror. And terror there's no mercy to terror.
Greer Cashman, Jerusalem Post, please.
Greek Heshman, the Jerusalem Post. Mr. President, there's been a lot of complaints from people who have lost loved ones that there's been no official notification or reaction when they actually spoke to witnesses who saw their loved ones killed. Why is that happening?
So there is much more of an organizational movement. We made it public following the meeting here with the families, with General Gal Hirsch and 2 other generals who've taken upon themselves. There's a much speedier process of making contact with the families. It is true. It's a problem, but it's been dealt with because there was an overwhelming tragedy. It's like in an earthquake all of a sudden.
Carl, Swedish television, please.
Yes, thank you. My name's Carl. I'm from Swedish television. Discussion has occurred that the prospect of, at some point, negotiations to have these many captured people, these hostages released. Do you see any possibility of any type of deal that would be struck?
Why should there be a deal? They should be released immediately. You took babies, you took old people with dementia, whether Filipino or other caretakers. What's the issue here? Isn't it the most decent moral thing to do is the immediate release of all the prisoners,
Well,
or of all the abducted and hostages?
Yes, but that's one thing. But just, would you be willing to enter into
I'm
any
not
type of negotiations?
discussing this at all. It's not under my domain. Yes, please. Becky, you wanted to ask something?
Mr. President, Maria Finoshina Arti from Russia. I have a very specific question. After a battle in Ashkelon, IDF found, among other things, RPGs with markings of one of the unit of the Ukrainian forces. And after that, one of the chiefs of Ukrainian security confirmed that Ukrainian weapons were discovered in Israel.
Ukrainian weapon? I don't know. Explain to me.
So there was a battle in Ashkelon, and after IDF came there, they found weapons with markings of the Ukrainian armed forces. You know, they do stamps like on weapons.
I'm unaware of this directly or indirectly at all. And I was in Ashkelon yesterday. I'm not aware of this story at all.
And there is also a video circulating online where Hamas is thanking the Ukrainian government for providing them with weapons. Of course, it's really hard to verify independently this video.
I don't know. I'll be happy to
So
receive
do you have
it.
any information about
Not known
Ukraine
to me at
probably-
all. None of it is known to us. Never heard of it.
Okay, and also
But
following up.
we can check it.
Thank you very much for that. And also you said that international media is supposed to show to the world the atrocities done by Hamas, but we see kind of selection here, unfortunately, because, for example, our channel was not invited to any of the things like kibbutz, Kfar Aza, Obirei, and
Okay,
our
so
requests were...
Jason, you will check it? Okay.
Yeah, thank you
Okay.
very much, because we would love to show
Next,
what you would love us to
please.
show. Thank you.
Alessandra Buzzetti, I'm Italian correspondent for TV 2000, Italian Catholic TV and Vatican TV. So one question is, have you had any direct contact or request by the Vatican, by the Pope, or by
Yes, I want to.
Another one. And
I
especially-
commend
yeah.
Pope Francis's statements. They were very strong and meaningful to us.
But do you have any specific request from them, even about the minority of Christians, not only in Gaza, even in the West Bank?
I don't understand the question. I can't hear you. You have to repeat the question.
Yes. Did you have any direct contact with them, with the Vatican, or with the Cardinal Pizzaballa? Did you receive any specific requests from them?
No.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm informed about 2 heavily wounded people in Sderot by rockets. Yes.
Becky Anderson from CNN. Sir, does Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu bear responsibility for this
I don't
situation
intend
at
to.
present
I'm
and
not-
this colossal
We're
failure
at
of
war.
intelligence?
I'm not dealing with this issue at all until after the war. Naturally, you follow up Israeli discussion and discourse, but I'm not dealing with it right now. Okay. Finally.
Hi. For Haaretz in English.
I didn't know that.
No.
Okay.
Now you know. We have seen many cycles.
I guess you know Vivian Silver.
Of course.
So you want to say a word to everybody here about Vivian Silver? She's
Everybody in the peace community in Israel is pained by what happened to Vivian Silver.
and to so many other peace lovers around in those areas.
Yes. We have seen so many cycles. Every
want you to see.
time there is an escalation rocket fire, we see many very colossal campaigns in Gaza, each one more destructive, each one brings lots of opprobrium to Israel from the world. And still the cycles return. So this one is huge. Will we see any different result?
I think that those who are in charge are dealing with it. They made it clear what their intentions are and how we are moving along. We have to change the equation. You're right. It cannot repeat itself anymore.
But do we change the
rea-
equation by doing more of what
And
we've been doing?
your advice would be not to do anything.
I'm asking
What
you.
would your advice be?
I'm not an advisor
What
now.
would advice be? What do you mean? What is there? I mean, what? Allow the mob to take over the city? This is the intention of the mob. They want to take over the city. It's much worse than the mob. Thank you all very much. Yeah, final question.
No. So this is HJ. My name is HJ from Korean news agency KRM. As of last night, actually, Korean Christians donated about $450,000 to help Israel.
That's nice.
And for right now, we're in the middle of the war. But what are you expecting the international countries to really help? What can we help? How
First
can
of
we
all,
help?
we're getting international support in the international community. We are a strong country, a strong and resilient nation. World Jewry has been fantastic with the huge solidarity. So many of our friends, many of our Christian friends around the world have shown immense solidarity. Leaders all over the world, parliaments and special heritage sites have all portrayed our blue and white. I hope and I request that this support continues for a while, because the equation in the Middle East is very clear. There's an empire of evil who's trying to derail the entire process of inclusion, of peaceful dialogue, of normalization. There's an entire empire of evil who's trying to do that. It's a historic train that has moved out of the station for the last 50 years to have the inclusion and the relation between Jew and Muslim in this region. It should be a region of peace. I've been portraying this region as the source of energy for Africa, Asia, and Europe. Together, we must not let this train be derailed, the train of inclusion and peace in the region.